Welcome to Crisis in Perception, where we examine the systems shaping our world one book at a time. So, back in 1962, a physicist who'd become a historian, Thomas Kuhn, published this book that just detonated our whole comfortable image of science. You see, he revealed that science isn't this steady, straightforward march of progress. Nope, it's actually a series of violent revolutions that can shatter everything we thought we knew.
Think about this for a second. Does science get us closer and closer to the absolute truth? For centuries, pretty much everyone would have said, of course. The idea was that every new discovery was just another brick being laid in this grand building of knowledge, always building steadily upward. But then Thomas Kuhn came along. He looked at the actual history of science and basically said, hold on a second, that's not what's happening at all. He saw something way more chaotic, way more human, and honestly, a whole lot more interesting.
So you have this old view, right? Science is just stacking up knowledge, one fact on top of another in a nice straight line heading towards truth. But Kuhn's model, it's a cycle. It's messy. Yeah, progress happens, but it's more like a process of demolition and reconstruction. You have to destroy the old ways of thinking to make way for the new.
To really get a handle on this cycle, we have to look at what Kuhn called science's hidden operating system. He basically gave us a whole new vocabulary to understand the unwritten rules of the game.
And the absolute cornerstone of this whole idea is the paradigm. Now, this isn't just a theory, it's the entire worldview. It's the whole collection of beliefs, values, and even the tools that a scientific community agrees on. A paradigm tells you what's real, what questions are even worth asking, and what a good answer looks like.
And inside one of these paradigms, scientists are doing what Kuhn called normal science. He described this as mopping up operations. I love that. It's not about finding mind-blowing new discoveries, it's about solving little puzzles where you kind of already know the answer because the paradigm guarantees it. It's really just trying to cram nature into the neat little box that the paradigm has already built.
And listen to Kuhn's own words on this, because it's pretty wild. He's arguing that most science, most of the time, is actually deeply conservative. Its whole goal is to just flesh out what's already believed to be true, not to find anything new.
Okay, but what happens when the box doesn't fit? What happens when you find a puzzle that should be solvable, but it just isn't? That nagging failure, that result that just completely breaks all expectations, that's what Kuhn calls an anomaly. It's the glitch in the matrix, so to speak.
And this is where it gets really interesting. Here's the key insight. An anomaly can only be an anomaly because the paradigm created the rules in the first place. The system itself is what defines a fact, and because of that, it also defines what a violation of the facts looks like. And that violation, that's the tiny seed that can grow into a full-blown revolution.
So how does this seed of revolution actually grow? Well, Kuhn saw that this wasn't just random chaos. He spotted a pattern, a clear structure to how these scientific upheavals happen again and again throughout history. It always starts in a period of calm, stable, normal science. You've got a community, they're all on the same page with their paradigm, they're solving puzzles, and everything feels like it's moving forward nicely. No one's questioning the foundations.
And then, an anomaly shows up, and it's a stubborn one. It just won't go away. The smartest people in the field take a crack at it, but none of the existing tools, none of the paradigm's tricks can solve it. And over time, this stubborn problem leads to a full-blown crisis. You can feel the faith in the old paradigm starting to crack. The rules of the game get fuzzy. Scientists start arguing about the most basic stuff, and you can just sense this deep professional anxiety. The old system is starting to come apart at the seams.
And this isn't some abstract, intellectual exercise. It's a real human crisis. Just listen to what the physicist Wolfgang Pauli wrote right before the quantum revolution. You can just feel the despair in that, right?
But here's the thing about a crisis. It creates an opening. As the old rules start to dissolve, all these wild, new, speculative ideas come rushing in to fill the vacuum. This breakdown is exactly what's needed to clear the way for a brand new paradigm to show up, one that promises to rebuild the entire field on totally new foundations.
Now, getting a new paradigm isn't as simple as just swapping out an old theory for a new one. Kuhn says it's way more profound than that. It's a complete shift in how you see the world.
So how on earth does that even happen? How do brilliant scientists who have spent their entire careers in one world suddenly wake up and start living in a completely different one?
Well, Kuhn uses this fantastic metaphor of a Gestalt switch. You know, like one of those optical illusions, the famous one that can be a rabbit or a duck?
Think about that. The actual data, the lines on the paper, they don't change one bit. Nothing is added, nothing is taken away. But then, in an instant, your perception just flips, and you see something totally new. The relationships between all the lines suddenly reconfigure, and poof, the duck is now a rabbit. Kuhn says a paradigm shift is exactly like that. Scientists don't just reinterpret the old facts in a new way, they literally start to see and operate in a brand new world.
And get this isn't just some clever analogy he came up with. It's actually how scientists themselves talk about these moments. It's this aha moment, this flash of insight, where everything that was confusing suddenly makes perfect sense in a new way. So what's the big takeaway from all this? Well, for one, it shows us that when people really fundamentally disagree, it's usually not about the facts themselves. It's about the completely different worldviews that give those facts meaning. It also changes how we think about truth. Progress isn't this straight march towards some final absolute truth. It's more like a journey away from systems and ideas that just don't work anymore. And finally, it teaches us that real profound change doesn't happen by just adding another brick to the wall. Sometimes you have to tear the whole foundation down and start building something new.
And all of this leaves us with a pretty challenging question for ourselves, right? If these entire worldviews can shift so completely, what are the critical anomalies we're ignoring today? In science, in our economy, in our politics, what are the things we're just brushing off as minor puzzles, when they might actually be the signs that the whole foundation is about to crack?
For the full, long-form deep dive into this book and its ideas, follow the link in the description.
If you enjoy this kind of systems-level analysis, please like, subscribe, and comment with books or topics you'd like us to explore next.